Remember when they tried to do social commentary in a film starring Whoopi Goldberg and a dinosaur?
I'll take your blues, your stomp down your troubles.
Let's go back.
Tamagotchi,
of Y2K.
The year is 1995, and it was a great year for film. Nicolas Cage won the Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas, but you would know that already if you'd seen my Nicolas Cage video. Toy Story's animation blew our minds. Seven blew Kevin Spacey's mind. There was Clueless, Empire Records, Jumanji, 12 Monkeys, Casino, The Usual Suspects, Braveheart, Apollo 13. I'm going to stop there because it just keeps going. But out of all those films, one from 1995 fascinated me when I was a kid, and that was Theodore Rex. You've got to wonder what strain of cocaine producers were snorting at the time to make this film, but remember, this film is coming off the huge success of ABC's The Dinosaurs, and the 90s was dino crazy. As a kid, I saw a dinosaur puppet, and I was all on board for it. It wasn't until researching it today that I found out all the problems Theodore Rex had before and during production. Whoopi Goldberg agreed to do this film after filming Sister Act 2, but then she wanted out. She was sued for $20 million, but eventually settled by agreeing to do the film for $7 million, which was $2 million more than she was originally going to make. In an interview with producer Richard Abramson, upon meeting Whoopi for the first time, he said, "She didn't want to sit down with me, but eventually her lawyers talked her into it. So we met in a room. We each had one attorney there, but they weren't allowed to speak, and I remember sitting down and she starts out with a bang. She goes, 'Just for the record, I hate your guts.' Surely this sort of commitment would make for a great film." However, this is by far my favorite quote that I came across while researching. From writer and director, he said, "You learn a lot of things when you make a movie, any movie, and the number one thing I learned from this one was, you can't sue your star." Feels kind of like an obvious lesson, but I'm glad he learned it, despite never directing another film again. With all this knowledge now, let's revisit Theodore Rex. The film opens with some Star Wars-esque scrolling text dropping some exposition on us before the film starts. Basically, Kane, this dude, is going to launch a missile to start a new ice age, and then he plans to reanimate animals that he plans on keeping frozen on an ark. Two workers escape the compound and are racing to tell the police of his master plan. You know, they say one of the first rules of storytelling is to show, don't tell. Maybe just another lesson learned for this writer and director. By the way, I know this film hasn't even started yet, but this scroll is kind of a spoiler. It felt like we weren't supposed to know Kane was the bad guy until later in the film. Anyway, Theodore Rex wakes up after having a dream about a dinosaur being killed by an exploding butterfly. He calls into the police station and finds out there is indeed a murder. But before racing off, he decides to have a shower with his rubber duckies and stop to have a cookie from his cookie shooting machine? We see Whoopi for the first time, and then we see these little minions shoot a man and take him into their truck.
Are you collecting for the policeman's ball?
Whoopi kicks all of their asses to show how much of a badass cop she is, but she's not the best at her job because she lets them all get away. The boss calls on a holographic phone because it's the future. He tells her to smarten up or she's off the force. Classic rogue cop storyline. We see the body of the dead dinosaur at the carnival, and it's actually kind of a strange thing to see in what I'm assuming is a children's movie. This is where Teddy explains that all dinosaurs feel for each other and have some sort of telepathic connection or something, and that is why he dreamt of this dinosaur's murder. Seems like an important plot point that should pay off later, right? Nope, it's seemingly unneeded throughout the film. We see this creepy long-haired dude, and it turns out the minions belong to him. Also, he has like a reverse elf ear for some reason. I don't know, it's just never explained. In the next scene, we meet this kid, who's trying to hook Whoopi up with her dad. He asks her to stop by the playground tomorrow because he has a surprise for her. I wouldn't have even brought up this quick scene, but it is kind of important for later on. Teddy shows up to some old white folks' fancy dinner party looking for the commissioner, but he keeps knocking things over with his tail. Good news for anyone who enjoys that joke, it becomes a running gag throughout the film and actually seems to be Teddy's only character trait. Oh, and he also really likes cookies.
Yes, cookies!
Wow!
Teddy tells the commissioner there's been a murder, and this is the commissioner's reaction.
There's been a murder at the carnival graveyard, sir.
And?
Seems about right. This is where we meet Mr. Kane, Teddy's creator, father figure, and villain because the opening scroll said so. Teddy asks the commissioner to be assigned to the homicide case.
There's been a dinocide.
Sorry, the dinocide case. Then this guy takes the commissioner aside and explains that making him the first dinosaur detective would seem progressive, and could give him a boost in the poll numbers. That's right, this film is basically about the civil rights movement, but for kids! The commissioner somehow wants this human-sized dinosaur to work this case undercover. They tell Teddy they're teaming him up with a pro, which is, you guessed it, Whoopi Goldberg. But she's upset, and I'm not sure why.
He's a dinosaur. He's a dinosaur. He's a dinosaur. Come on. He's a dinosaur. You're a dinosaur.
Then this guy accuses her of being a speciesist. Subtle. But wouldn't you know it, this guy who convinced the commissioner to put Teddy on the case is actually working for Mr. Kane as well. And he did this because surely these two ragtag detectives will screw up the entire case. But just to be sure, Kane asks to have them followed, or in this case, he wants them to be tailed. Get it? I'm starting to think that if I ever wrote a film, it would probably be Theodore Rex. Whoopi gets into Teddy's weird car and they head to the Museum of Natural History, because I guess that's where you do dinosaur autopsies. Teddy touches the dead dinosaur's face and has some sort of orgasm. Once he finishes, he pulls a piece of the explosive butterfly out of the dinosaur's nose. They run his tail scales for identification. That's right, dinosaurs' scales on their tails work just the way our fingerprints do. That's just simple science. They find out this victim is connected to Molly Rex, and Teddy begins explaining she's a famous club singer who he wants to bang. Nice, we're about to see a sexy dinosaur. Let me get my popcorn, or maybe some tissues. They go to the club, which is 40s themed, and I guess that just seems to be an era that dinosaurs are fond of.
Welcome to the Extinct Species Club. If a species shows up here, it's history.
There is this dinosaur here, which has no impact on the story, but I couldn't help but think she sounds like Linda from Bob's Burgers.
Soft skin, I see.
Oh, everybody look at the tree.
There's also this horny dinosaur who's really into Whoopi. You know, there's a lot of horny dinosaurs in this film for a children's movie. Teddy and Whoopi sit down and have a conversation, and we learn that dinosaurs call humans softskins. And then he says this.
The only time you softskins seem to pay attention to other creatures is to shoot them, eat them, or wear them.
Oh, you thought this movie was just going to be a commentary about racism in America? I don't think so. It's also about the environment. Here comes Molly Rex. Teddy is at the table purring as she sings. Hold up, Teddy. If you're Theodore Rex, and she's Molly Rex, you two may be related. This is some Jerry Springer shit I'm not ready for. Then we see the exact moment when Whoopi Goldberg realizes how ridiculous this film is. They meet Molly backstage. She tells them the dinocide victim was just her roommate. Then we get this sexy undressing scene. Damn, look at those sexy scaly legs. Before leaving, Teddy and Molly do this weird swaying back and forth thing. Is it a mating ritual? Is this accurate? I'm asking all my paleontologist viewers. Teddy drives home and is attacked by the minions, but it looks as though they just sort of covered his car in foam. He tells Whoopi that he doesn't carry a gun because he doesn't believe in violence. Now Teddy heads back to the police station to get a new police vehicle and gets very aggressive with one of the officers.
Get outside right now!
For someone who doesn't believe in violence. He's kind of like the Will Smith of dinosaurs.
I don't believe in violence as the reaction.
The commissioner is upset with Teddy and says he doesn't even look like a detective, and Whoopi comes to his defense.
You cannot judge a dino by his scales.
Apparently Whoopi learned a valuable lesson and became closer to Teddy off screen, because we sure didn't see it. By the way, I love this scene in which the entire police station's laughing at Teddy and Whoopi, and then the laugh track just comes to a dead stop. Teddy goes down to a room in the police station that has a device that gives you a new look. This is what the taxpayers' money is being wasted on. Do dinosaurs pay taxes? The cop messes with him by putting him in some ridiculous outfits.
Ella, undercover, por favor, please.
Cancelled. They eventually settle on this outfit, because we all know cops dress up in hoodies.
You gotta make him look like a real cop.
Wasn't he supposed to be undercover? Doesn't making him look like a cop defeat the whole purpose anyway? Plus he's going undercover next to Whoopi, who's dressed in a full police matrix uniform. That can't help. I mean, she literally has her police badge on the front of her outfit, but whatever. The police mess with Teddy and Whoopi even more by giving them a dump truck to use as their official police vehicle. Remember that kid Whoopi talked to earlier? Well, Whoopi and Teddy go to the park to meet him. Although calling it a park is kind, it's more like a hepatitis wonderland. The kid wanted to give Whoopi a badge case he made for her. Then Teddy wants to join them in playing some street hockey and does this.
3!
Alright, I've gone along with a lot in this film, but this is the most unrealistic aspect of this film. These goals would never count, because he didn't use a stick and they weren't redirected off his body. I demand they call these goals back and scratch them from the record books. Sorry, I'm getting a bit off track. The minions are there watching the game and kidnap the kid through an arcade machine. At the dinosaur's funeral, Teddy explains the dinosaurs are liquefied and their essence fertilizes the flowers so each guest can take a part of them home. It's kinda sweet, but also a little creepy. Do you want haunted flowers? Because that's how you get haunted flowers. Teddy decides to take a page out of Will Ferrell's book in Wedding Crashers and uses the funeral to hit on and pick up Molly. The two go back to Teddy's apartment and things start to get sexy again. You know, they should have just called this film Horny Dinosaurs. The two begin to dance and even Zippy the dog joins in on the fun. Teddy's tail begins knocking over everything around his apartment. Now, I know this is a kid's film, but I have a theory that his tail in this scene is actually a euphemism for his erection. Once Teddy's finished with Molly, he meets back up with Whoopi and the two go visit a man by the name of the Toy Maker who made the explosive butterfly they found in that dinosaur's nose. Then we get a plot twist, or at least it was for me because I don't remember this coming up before, but apparently Whoopi isn't a human?
You see this badge?
Yeah?
It's like a union label. We're more human than human. Let's go.
So is she like a cyborg, I guess? Seems a bit unnecessary. Teddy and Whoopi enter the warehouse, and in there are frozen humans waiting to be reanimated. Oh look, there's Walt Disney. The next scene introduces by far the best character in the whole film.
Who are you?
I'm the guy from the bag.
They interrogate the guy from the bag, but he keeps sassing them.
Ooh, I love it, baby. Come and get it.
But this little insect thing turns into a butterfly and leads them to the toy maker. But uh-oh, back at Teddy's place, Molly also gets kidnapped. I guess the kid wasn't enough insurance for Kane. Teddy decides he's gonna stay undercover and pretend to just be a guy who's interested in buying a big gun. Yet, as soon as he walks up to the toy maker, he reveals he's a cop, so what was the point?
Last night, one of your butterflies killed a dino. And we can connect you to the murder.
Whoopi and Teddy somehow survive the toy maker's explosion, and they capture the toy maker, tie him up, and begin to interrogate him. How do they torture him, you may ask? Well, Teddy sits on him and farts.
Last chance. Who bought the butterfly?
Eventually, the toy maker breaks and confesses that the person who bought the butterfly's name is Edge, and he works for Kane. Hold up, Edge? Kane? How far up the WWE ladder does this conspiracy go? Cut to Kane's place, and Whoopi and Teddy hatch a plan to take out the minions and then fly this helicopter thing through the window of Kane's office. They're immediately captured, and instead of just killing Whoopi, Kane orders his men to take her away, and guess what? She immediately breaks free. Kane and Teddy go back and forth with one another as Kane tries to convince Teddy to join him on the Ark and shows him Molly's already frozen, and the two can live happily together in the future. Teddy says he won't do it, so he's forced onto the Ark by this woman with a gun. But wouldn't you know it, she happens to be standing right in front of the Ark freezer. Silly henchman. Whoopi saves the kid, who has a chimp now for some reason. Teddy tries to free Molly but fails. Or did he? Nothing can stand in the way of a dinosaur and his erection. I meant tail. Whoopi returns and they're all hugging and having a nice moment despite the fact that the missile's still counting down. Oh no! Kane once again tries to convince Teddy, but then Kane shoots Teddy when he won't comply. Actually, as it turns out, he wasn't shot, he was just faking it. As sparks shoot out of Whoopi, Teddy asks for a gun, but she tells him he needs to do this with his brain, not a gun. What? Enough of your hippie bullshit, Whoopi, the entire world's at stake, give him the gun. Teddy runs off to stop Kane with his peanut-sized brain. There isn't much of a big final fight here, actually. Teddy uses a hook to grab Kane's car seat before the long-haired dude drives into a Looney Tunes-esque explosion and presses the button to stop the missile. Not sure where that missile went, but some other planet's problem now. The final scene is of Teddy officially getting promoted to detective. Such an inspirational story. Teddy needs to choose his new partner, and guess who he chooses?
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
They kinda set this final scene up as an attempt at a sequel, it seems. That's ballsy. And thus concludes the cinematic adventure known as Theodore Rex. This movie was bad, and it wasn't even in the sense of so bad it's good. When a film is intentionally trying to be funny, it doesn't hit as well than a film that is bad but taking itself seriously. Unfortunately, this was a film from my childhood that didn't age well. It was a film that was so bad it wasn't even released in theaters. That's right, it went straight to home video. And when adjusted for inflation, it still holds the record for the most expensive straight-to-home video film. I hope you enjoyed revisiting this mess of a film with me. If you did, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button. It really helps this channel out. Until next time, bye everyone.
I'm too sexy for my clothes. Yeah.